Welcome to Eventful Endeavors, secrets to crafting the perfect celebration. If you're planning an event and looking for useful tips from industry experts, you're in the right place. So get ready to take some notes and we'll dive right in. This is Eventful Endeavors.
Hello, I'm Jay Carter with Felix and Fingers, Dueling Pianos, and I'm here with Lee Anderson, the owner and executive chef of Sugar Beach Events. You have an amazing venue that I have heard all about from friends of mine. I know that you guys did a lot of work after the fires and hosting like all kinds of cooking for people and all those things, and you have a really cool background. You're from Charleston, South Carolina, been in the food industry for 35 years, a caterer on Maui for 16 years. You guys specialize in Pacific Rim cuisine, and I know that your venue was built specifically for weddings and events. And you guys are doing amazing things. It's super cool to have such an awesome venue that is in Kihei that's so beautiful because I have seen all the pictures and I know the location. It's absolutely gorgeous. So, yeah, thank you so much for joining the podcast. Is there anything else that you want to say about your background?
Hey, thank you so much, Jake. I really appreciate it. I think you basically got all the highlights. Yeah, I've been cooking since for a long time now. And I love what I do. I have always worked in restaurants, and when I moved to Maui 19 years ago, I always wanted to start a catering company, and I never really understood why, but I finally figured it out. It's about the entire party for me. It's not just about the food, but it's about the guests and the guest experience. So everything from beginning to end, I really wanted to have an impact in somebody's really special day.
Yeah, I think a lot of people in events are really just very focused on wanting to be about the experience in the event and like the party, and that's why we do these kind of things. So that's cool that you said that. I think I resonate with that as well.
Yeah, and what better place than on the beach on Maui?
That is very true. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a great place for a party. Um, cool. So I'm going to ask you some questions about events and weddings and your venue and all those things. So the first thing is what current trends are you seeing in the wedding and event industry?
Oh gosh. Well, things have, for us here on the island, things have toned down a little bit. People are spending their money and they're using their budgets very wisely. I will say there's not as much extravagance, but people are making sure they have really good food at their venues. At their events and their weddings. And the tablecloths are really lovely. So they're spending not as much money on a lot of extravagance, but they're classics. They're spending money on the classics. Beautiful
Interesting.
flowers. Yeah, beautiful flowers. And for us with destination weddings is mainly what we do. So it's about having their guests and their really important special loved ones come here and be a part of their day.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, like a return to the classics is always cool. And I feel like I've seen that too with some of the events where like some of the florals that I've seen recently have been just amazing. So
Yes.
totally. Yeah. Um, okay, so next question. What are some things that you think that couples should never do, or like the most cringeworthy things that you hate seeing at your events? What is the craziest thing that you're just like, oh, please don't do that?
Oh, cringeworthy. I can tell you from my perspective, owning a venue, I never, ever, ever want to see a bride working on her wedding day.
Mm,
People always ask us about, well, do you require a planner? Yes, we do require a planner. And this is why. And one of the very first weddings that we did here at Sugar Beach, I wasn't requiring a planner. And the day of the bride had 150 guests, and she's tying sashes on the back of the chairs. And she's sweating, and she's already had her makeup done and her hair done. And it was really at that moment that I said, no, this is not okay. Um, we have to make sure that there's a planner here so a bride can enjoy this day because there's so much planning going up to it. People don't realize the effort that it takes to put an event together of such amazing magnitude. We did an event this weekend and there were 10 different vendors and it was a small event, but you're not thinking you have an officiant that you have to be in charge of, and florals and linen and rentals, catering, all the things that go into putting on an event. And a bride and a groom should, and a mother of the bride should never have to be responsible for making sure those things happen. So,
Yeah.
and then from an event perspective, I would say the one thing that I always try to talk to couples about are speeches. Because when
Mm.
speeches happen, everything can go topsy-turvy if you're not really paying attention to those details. Because the other thing about events, we work on very specific timelines. And, I'll have a timeline that says entrees served at 7:04, entrees cleared at 7:22. So we're literally working on specific timelines. And then they throw speeches in the middle. And you tell Uncle Chuck, that he can only speak for 3 minutes. Well, Uncle Chuck's already had 2 cocktails, and now 3 minutes turns into 10 minutes. And entrees or desserts are ready, but now everybody's listening to Uncle Chuck tell the story about, his niece who was so cute at 3 years old. And it just turns into a whole different thing. So I always tell people to really pay attention to speeches on the day of and the toasts, and anything you can do on your rehearsal dinner. That's the time to do those speeches,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it frees up more time for the party afterwards too.
I totally agree. And it's funny because the more that I've done these like podcasts, I come to the same things. People get a planner, be careful with speeches. Get a planner, be careful with every person that's done this is just like, you need a planner. You have to have one. It's
Yeah.
required. And then like speeches, just those go sideways so fast. Do you have any
Yes.
like crazy stories that you're willing to share of like things just going sideways or something that was really bad?
Um, yeah, I mean, well, we have had some fun, interesting things happen here. We've had security guards on site because family members were not invited to the weddings. We've
Ooh.
had a couple, and we also do offsite catering, so different venues on the island. We've, been a part of a few events that didn't take place. Instead of the wedding dinner, they may have done a roast of the spouse who wasn't there, or the would-be spouse who wasn't there.
Oh my God.
So yeah, there have been some interesting things for sure. And I
Wow.
think one event we did have to, there was I don't want to say it wasn't a fight, but it was almost a fight with the family members. So we had to kind of hide that from the bride and groom, so they didn't see what was going on. But it's always about protecting the couple from anything like that on their day.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love the roast story. That's hilarious. They were like, we're going to keep doing this. We're going to have the food. We're going to have a party and we're going to roast the person that's not here. That's
And they
hilarious. I haven't heard
did.
that.
And every single person got up and told the story. So it was everybody on the bride's side of the family, bride's friends in their side of the family who showed up. So it was
Wow.
an interesting experience for sure.
I feel like that's the one time where speeches, you can just do whatever. Like as long as you want to talk, go ahead. There you go. If you're doing a roast,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
More the merrier. Yes.
Oh my gosh, that's great. That's a new one. I haven't heard that yet. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so the exact opposite. What is the most unique, fun thing that you've seen at a wedding or event recently, or ever?
Oh, fun thing. Well, I have to say, I feel like we do a lot of really innovative things here at Sugar Beach, and it's all about presentation for me. Like I said in the beginning, it's about the whole party. We had our 10-year anniversary in August of last year, and I work with 2 planners on the mainland. Gabrielle Robinson, who used to work with me, she was my general manager here at Sugar Beach, and Carrie Johnson. They're both freelance planners on the mainland and very dear friends of mine. And they helped me throw this 10-year anniversary party here at Sugar Beach, and it was amazing. We have a great video of it somewhere. But we did a really cool new ahi station, so an ahi poke station, where we call it spin art, and we do it on record players. So we
Ooh,
have little lavash rounds, and we do ahi and all the toppings on a record player as the record record lavash spins, and people put their toppings, their sauces and things on it. And then we have a chef who takes it off, cuts it, and gives it to the guests. So a lot of really great interactive ideas like that is what we specialize in. And it's what I really feel makes an event not a classical wedding, but really takes it to a different level. And with destination weddings, any weddings really, people are coming together and they may not know each other. So give them something to talk about, a cool station, a cool cocktail, a cool appetizer, anything like that really sparks a conversation with people.
Yeah, I love that. That's amazing. I love that's super, super cool. That's so cool. I haven't heard anything like that yet, but I love
Yeah.
like interactive food service kind of things. Like that's so
Yeah.
much fun.
And the
So,
other thing we did, we also did a smoke. We called it Pop Till You Drop. It was a cocktail station where we had a spandex wall and the servers had white gloves. You couldn't see the servers. They were standing behind the wall and they were holding a
hmm.
cocktail. The guests would come up and retrieve the cocktail from the hand. And then on our mezzanine level, we're dropping smoke bubbles that drop into your cocktail. So it was a citrus flavored smoke that you would drop into the cocktail. Total
Oh,
fun.
that's super cool. I have heard of and like seen the hand through like the a lot of times I've seen it where it's like fake plants of some sort and there's like a hand with
Yes.
champagne through the plant. I have seen that, but I'm curious
Yeah.
about the smoke thing. That's interesting.
Yeah, I've got
I would
photos
love
of
to
that too.
see.
It's on our
Yeah, I would
video.
love to see that. There you go. That's
Yes.
super cool. Okay, so what is some advice that you can offer someone that is just starting their planning journey of putting on their event?
What I tell every couple I always encounter is know your budget and be honest about your budget. And you need to share that information with your vendors. The most expensive item you're going to spend on is catering, usually. So you need to be honest with your caterer about your budget so that we can help you spend that money wisely. If you're on a tight budget, I'm going to recommend a more cost effective menu for you, a less expensive menu. If you just come in saying, "Oh, money's no object," and I tell you, "Great, let's do this menu. We'll do the platinum menu," and then I scare you, that doesn't help me and it doesn't help you. So
Yeah,
always being honest about the budget so that, and your planner can help you spend that money wisely as well.
yeah. I think that's super true. I know that that's something that is always an interesting question for me because it's like, what is your budget for this event? Because a lot of times, people, it just varies, I don't want to, it's hard because you don't want to waste anyone's time, and kind of like you said, it's like, well, you could say, oh, money's no object. Well, great. If that's the case, we're going to be able to make something work. But if you say, well, our budget's a couple $100 or, this something very small, it's like, well, then we probably don't need to keep talking about this
Right.
situation,
Right. And if they're
So,
honest with me, I can tell them right away, we're not going to be the right fit for you. I don't want to
yeah,
waste their time or mine, but I can also recommend them to one of my catering friends on the island who might be a better fit
exactly.
and
Yep.
send them down the right path.
Yeah, and same thing for me. It's like, well, maybe if your budget's smaller, maybe you should just go with a DJ, or maybe you want to go with like a solo option or something like that instead of the full dueling show like we do. So I'm
Right.
on board.
Yeah.
So I know that we talked about how you are a chef and you have all this experience in the food industry and all of that, and that your venue is built specifically for that kind of thing. With that in mind, or anything else that you want to talk about, what makes your venue and service so unique?
We are one of the only private oceanfront venues, or beachfront, sorry, not just oceanfront, but beachfront, in the state. And definitely on Maui. We have an interior space. We have a liquor license. So we have the responsibility of serving liquor to guests. They don't bring their own. We take that liability away from them and we carry that. But yeah, we're really a one of a kind, very exclusive, um, but very approachable venue, which I think is really important. I want people to come and enjoy this space. I am fairly priced. It's not going to cost you your arm and a leg to come here and get married, because I want you to come and enjoy this space. That's why I built it, so that people could actually have something really magical on the island.
Yeah, that that's great. So the next round of questions is going to be kind of a speed round. You can answer these as short or as long as you want, but there's going to be a bunch of questions about the venue and your service.
Oh, I like it.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
I'm ready.
So what is your current availability and how far in advance are you booked?
We're booked. I have one event booked in 2026, but
Whoa.
we're well booking into 2025 at this point. Unfortunately, we have a lot of availability based on the fires that happened. People keep saying, "Well, aren't you coming back? And haven't you seen a lot of business?" This last month, we had a lot of postponed events from the fire that just actually produced. So we did have kind of an uptick in events recently. But for the end of the year, pretty much the island, as far as events are concerned, is very down. I'm down 50% from where I was before the fires.
Wow, that's
So
crazy.
availability is still really good. In 2024, I am doing a 20% off discount for the venue to try to get business in here for the rest of the year.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
Um, so what kind of flexibility do you have in guest count in the event that it changes?
We don't do food and beverage minimums. So we do just charge based on the number of guests because we're venue and we do catering. We do a guaranteed guest count that's due 14 days out. We do all of our pricing based on an estimate provided by the couple. We always explain to people if you're inviting 100, you're going to lose at least 30% of your guest count coming to a destination, which is one reason why people choose destinations, because they do, get a little smaller guest count. Yeah, so flexibility, we have 2 people up to 200 people on the property.
Awesome. So for pricing, can you give us an average event size and the cost at your venue plus gratuity if that's applicable?
Um, for, let's see, the average event size I would say is 60.
Okay.
We do have some larger events. We did 85, we did 120 last month as well. So we do have some larger, but average is 60, I think. And I want to say it would probably cost you from venue perspective, venue, bar, catering. That 60 people would cost you probably $25,000.
Okay. And is there a mandatory gratuity with that?
There is not. We always recommend to couples to please leave a gratuity. Staffing is very difficult these days, and that's definitely helps us get good quality staff for our events.
Yeah. What is the deposit amount?
25%.
Okay. What is your cancellation policy?
The initial deposit is non-refundable. You can move the date. So if you need to move the date one time, there's no fee associated with that. We'll move that. But other than that, anything else beyond that, there's a 60-day payment, and then you'll get a percentage of that back if you cancel within 60 days. All that's in the fine print on the contract.
Awesome. Read your contracts.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
yeah. Um, so I know that you guys do food and beverage and alcohol and all of that, as well as being a venue. Are there preferred vendors that you recommend, and are couples required to use them?
100%. We do have a preferred vendor list. We have a preferred planner list, and then also the preferred vendors or creative partners who we work with on the island. Uh, Especially when you're doing a destination wedding, people don't understand. It's their first time planning a wedding, so they don't understand how important it is that you have somebody who works here constantly. Uh, for instance, I'll have a couple who's coming from Maine and their favorite photographer in Maine they want to bring here. Okay, well, that Maine photographer has no idea what lighting is like on Maui, how quickly the sun sets, where the best locations on the property are to take those photos at what time of the day, where can they take them down the road if they want a different look? So that's why it's really important that you have the expertise of local on-island vendors.
Yeah, that's really smart. I go ahead.
No, I was going to say, so we don't require that you use our preferred vendors. If you want to go off of our preferred vendor list, I do have to approve anybody you want to bring on, bring in. There are a lot of professionals on Maui. We don't work with all of them, and there might be the occasional uh, photographer or videographer who we don't work with a lot, or maybe a shave ice vendor who's coming in to do dessert one for a station. But as long as we have that information and we can vet them and get insurance, because insurance is another really important aspect of what we do that people don't understand how important that is. But
Yeah.
there are a few things. You have to use our preferred DJs and you have to use our preferred rigging company.
Oh,
And that's for
interesting.
safety and for neighbors.
Yeah, that's interesting. Huh.
Yeah.
Um, and also the point, I'm a photographer as well. I'm not a wedding photographer, but I've wondered about that because I've heard about wedding photographers that do the like destination stuff. And I've always thought like that I don't do this, but it seems like it'd be so challenging to just show up somewhere and be like, oh yes, I know exactly what the light is going to do in this space I've never seen, in this place that I'm not at. Like such a good point because I've often thought that of like that seems really hard to know all the
Right.
different places and all that. Like I feel like you'd have to be there for a couple of days to really do it correctly, you know?
Yeah. And I was going to say, and
So,
that's what people have to do. They have to come in a few days ahead of time. And if you're
mhm,
if you're bringing in a photographer like that, then they should be coming in a few days ahead of time.
yeah. Hmm, very interesting. What is the maximum capacity for the venue for both ceremony and reception?
For weddings, we can do, I really say 200 for weddings. We can do 300 for a stand-up cocktail event between inside and outside. We do have a beautiful oceanfront lawn that seats 200 people. We have an interior space that seats 160. But in total, we can only do 300 because our kitchen, we do have a wonderful on-site commercial kitchen, but it's only so large. And so for a sit-down event, we can do 200.
Okay. Is there a designated bridal suite or changing area?
There is. I'm sitting in it right now.
Ah, there you go.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So we have a really great bridal suite, and then we also have a groom's getting ready area upstairs as well, so the guys can hang out there.
Awesome. So you have both.
Yeah.
Um, I know you mentioned DJs and the neighbors. Are there noise ordinances or curfews to be aware of?
Yes. Maui has a 10 p.m. curfew for the entire island, unless you're at a resort. But we do have 10 p.m. as our noise ordinance. We do have an outside amplified music noise ordinance, and that or curfew, noise curfew, and that's 8:30 p.m. So you can have
Oh, wow.
outside music until 8:30, and then you move inside. So we always tell our couples there are a couple of different ways that you can have your event. You can do ceremony outside, cocktail reception outside, move inside for dinner and dancing, or you can do because it's all about the flow and creating a great energy for the event. You don't want everyone
Yeah.
sitting in the same place the entire time. So we'll do ceremony outside, maybe cocktail reception inside, move outside for dinner under the stars and the bistro lights, and then move back inside for dancing.
Yeah. That seems like that'd be cool because it could kind of be like adjusted while people are eating. So,
Yes,
yeah.
that's exactly right. Yep, we can
Yeah.
flip the different areas.
Very cool. Is there ample parking available for guests and is it complimentary?
Yes, we have parking for 43 cars.
Awesome.
And
Do you
yes, it is
have,
complimentary. If you have more vendor or more guests than that, we do recommend that you shuttle or you have people carpool.
okay. Do you have a backup plan for outdoor weddings in case of bad weather?
Yes, we have a great indoor space that seats 160. And in
Amazing.
10 years, actually 10 and a half years now, I think we have literally had 5 events. And I might even be over exaggerating that number. It might be 4 events that actually had to move inside. One wedding ceremony and one corporate event had to move inside. Other than that, the ceremony happened outside, and then they had to move inside for dinner because it started raining. And two of those were when we had back-to-back hurricanes here like 9 years ago.
Wow. That's actually a really crazy stat. That's amazing that that's
Yes.
that low.
We're just in this perfect little pocket in Kihei where we don't get a lot of rain. Now, it can get windy here in the afternoon.
Hmm.
So right before sunset, the wind will pick up, but then it dies down after sunset.
Yep, I know that to be true.
Yeah.
A lot of these questions I'm asking, and I'm like, I kind of know the answer. Like, I know you have parking,
Right?
you know? But we have to talk about it because they don't know. So,
Yes, exactly.
um, so are there any additional costs associated with using the backup space? Like if you had something set up outside and then had to move inside?
No, if
Okay.
we ever had to make that, not from my perspective. Now, if you had a rental or a vendor that you're working with outside, your wedding planner would help you out with that. But from my perspective, especially if it's a last minute thing, if we have to move 140 chairs inside, we all quickly do that and make that happen with our staff. We're not going to charge somebody extra for that.
Yeah. How early can vendors access the venue for setup on the day of the event or wedding?
It depends. We're usually here at 8 a.m. We, depending on the complexity of the event, it might be 10 a.m. for vendor arrival or bridal suite arrival as well. But they
Okay.
do have the property from 12 p.m. until 10 p.m.
Okay. So I'm sure, based on what we've talked about, that you are generally on site for events, and I know that you said you require a planner. So this next question might be a little silly, but is there an event coordinator or manager on site during the wedding day?
It's not a silly question at all, actually. We used to do on-site planning, and then after COVID, I kind of revamped the model of the business, so we don't do on-site planning anymore. We don't have an on-site coordinator. What we do have is a manager or a dining room captain. So
Okay,
we'll have a
cool.
front of the house manager who handles things from a catering perspective. So we will always have a front of the house person, and then we have myself as the chef, or Courtney Walter is our chef de cuisine. She's in the kitchen all the time. I'm mostly running the business now, and she
Hmm.
does all the hard work in the back.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm glad I asked.
Yeah,
Um, who would be the main point of contact prior to the event? Would that be you?
that's me.
Okay. And how involved are you in the planning process?
Very involved. I used to have a team. I'll kind of give you my synopsis over the last couple of years. I moved off island for almost 2 years in 2021. My mom was sick on the mainland, so I moved back to help care for her, and she passed away last year. So right after the fires, I moved back here. I had not planned on coming back quite so soon. I'm trying to help my father through that first year, the loss of his wife of 66 years. So trying to help through that. But after the fires, I realized we were in pretty big trouble. So I quickly moved back and had to let go of my team. I had a whole team in place who was running things, had to let them go. And now I've taken over and I'm having to build back up again.
Yeah. That segues perfectly into my next question, and I was going to say kind of what was the effect that the fires had on your business and the event business that you see?
Catastrophic, pretty catastrophic. Within 2 months, I was using my savings, my personal savings, to pay bills. The phone stopped ringing. And it's one thing that you have to explain to people when they're like, "Oh, but the business is coming back from the fires." Well, it is if you're a restaurant on island or a retail shop on island. Guests are coming back, and you are getting foot traffic. But with events, you depend on 60 people coming to the island who are friends of yours, or 40 people, or 20, or whatever that number is, but you're depending on all of those people coming to take part of your day, and you're booking that day a year out. So fires started, everybody's phone stopped ringing on the island for booking events. And my phone did not start ringing back until January, which is usually when we start booking. That's proposal season for us right after Christmas. So we start getting phone calls, people wanting to book events and do destination weddings. So that's when our phone started ringing. So we lost all of 2024. And now people book a year out. So we're booking 2025. And so now we just have to make it through this year. And I know we have to make it through this year. So I'm getting a loan, a small business association loan, to bridge the gap and get us to next year.
Wow. That is, yeah, it's crazy. And I mean, I know you mentioned earlier that you are offering that discount for people booking in 2024, which I feel like is such a big thing to shout out to everyone. Like, hey, by the way, you ever thinking about getting married in Maui? Now is the time, because I feel like
Yeah,
you're not the only one that would be happy to have the business and help people out. And I know
right.
that's been kind of a sentiment from a lot of businesses here. It's like, please come. We will do anything if you come right now. Like,
Yes,
and yeah,
100%. And I think what's important to remember, Jake, and especially for people coming to the island. Yes, I'm offering a discount because I need to get the venue booked, but I'm not going to discount my goods and services because I'm giving you the same product and it costs me more than I would have given you before the fire. There was a
yeah,
freeze on food costs on the island of Maui that has just been lifted. So my costs, which were kind of stable, are now about to go up dramatically. And I'm still trying to honor those prices I gave people. So when
yeah,
people ask me for discounts and what else can you do for me, I can't do anything else for you because I have to pay the bills here.
yeah,
And we have gotten together a lot of the wedding professionals on the island and event planners. So they're DMCs, they're destination management companies. They work, excuse me, they work with all the corporate businesses that come to the island. So we've all gotten together and we are reforming or reigniting the Maui Wedding and Event Association. It used to be in place years ago. It just ran its course at the time, and we are bringing that back. And Brian Etheridge with Cutting Edge Catering is part of it. Darren Kayala, who's a wedding planner. Tara Murphy, who is a photographer. Everybody from every walk of life in the wedding and event industry is getting involved in this because the county and the state has forgotten what we bring to the table. And we
yeah,
bring a lot of money to the table, to this island, when we're flourishing. And they've forgotten that. So we're just reminding them that we're here and we need to be considered.
yeah. Well, that's great. I'm glad that you brought that up because I'm excited to talk to you more about that after this meeting because that sounds
Yeah,
like a really interesting thing that I would like to be a part of.
absolutely.
Um, yeah, yeah, that's great. Um, well, it was great talking to you, and I appreciate you taking the time out to talk about your venue and your services. And I know that I have seen the location and it's gorgeous, and everyone should book immediately. Just right after this, or right after you hear this, just get on and book with Sugar Beach Events because it's beautiful and you won't regret it. And don't forget that you should have dueling pianos at the same time.
Yes. And
Um,
I was going to say, you should bring a piano down and you can do a little video here.
yeah, yeah, that's a really good idea. I like that. We will we'll
I mean,
definitely
I
talk.
don't know how easy it is to bring a piano down, but you know,
It's a lot easier than you think. I get a lot
yeah.
of not that this is supposed to be a podcast about me, but since you brought it up, the I get questions all the time of like, well, we want to do it here and we want to do it there, but we don't know. Like, I had a venue specifically that was like, well, we want to do this, but you have to get upstairs, and that won't, how could you do that? And the pianos are actually shells, so we can go just about anywhere with them. I can
Oh, that's
actually go do it.
awesome.
Yeah, I can actually do it on the beach, and I have pictures and videos of events that I have done on the beach. So for smaller things, we can actually put the shells out in the sand without anything. So yeah,
Oh, I love it. That's great. Good to know.
yeah,
I can't wait to see it here at Sugar Beach one day.
Me too. I'm excited for it.
Yeah,
Cool. Well, thank you so much for joining. I appreciate it.
my pleasure. Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Awesome.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Eventful Endeavors, Secrets to Crafting the Perfect Celebration. We hope to have left you with some actionable ideas for your own event. If you like the show, please subscribe and definitely leave us a review. We read every comment. So until next time, happy planning and see you soon on Eventful Endeavors.